All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. All right, number one, I'm on this Ultimate Classic Rock website. I want to apologize for this website. They literally have pop-up ads that interfere with reading articles. I've never seen anything like it, but every single time I go on here, you get pop-up ads, and you have to wait for the pop-up ads to play. So, again, guys, if you want somebody to actually give your website a plug and use it, make it more user-friendly. I mean, look at this. It's like I've already watched an ad. You can't get rid of the ad, and it comes back, and then you can't even read the article. You really can't. So this article that they posted, by the way, is talking about Steve Perry and the fact that why Journey pays Steve Perry not to sing. Folks, this breakup where Journey said, we're going to look for another singer, all right, and Perry was really busted up over that. And I really think that when Perry came out of hiding after, a couple of decades basically almost, and he said, hey, this album, new album, and there's so many, look, I sympathize with Steve Perry, especially the way his childhood went, all right? If you watch the big interview with Dan Rather, you'll know what I'm talking about. But man, oh man, the dude made out really well financially. Did he deserve it? Sure, he deserved it. But keep in mind, Steve Perry left this band in 1987. He just said, I'm done. I'm walking out. I'm walking away. Remember, he said he was toast. He needed to go unplug and so forth, and he just walked away. Now, I don't know any job, well, there are jobs you can just walk away, but you're not going to be rewarded for walking away. You're not going to be given anything special for walking away from your job. Now, he walked away again in 1998. Technically, the band did not want to wait for him to make a decision about his hip and his hip surgery, which eventually he did get. And there was a battle, and these guys wanted to go look for other singers. Now, at the time, the contract was between Shaun, Kane, and Perry, and they redid this contract in 98. When Perry left, he immediately said, hey, I'm going to lawyer up, okay? And I've covered this multiple times in videos. I think people are shocked to find out, though, how well Steve Perry is making out. So let's take a look at how well Steve Perry is doing. In 1997, when Perry split with Journey, court documents show Kane and Shaun were allowed to take over the license, but at a notable cost. Court documents show that Journey were required to pay their former singer a sum total of 50% of the net income due Shaun or Kane, whichever is higher from the first two post-Perry Journey albums. Perry was then to receive 25% of the same net income from their third studio project without him, and 12.5% from every Journey album that follows. All of those figures were calculated after expenses. Wow. So that's a lot of money. I told you in other videos I've said, it starts off here and then it goes down to here. I never heard that it eventually would go away, and apparently I was correct. It's always there. It's truly in perpetuity. Now, my guess is, by the way, that Valerie and Smith wanted the same thing. They wanted the same thing. And Perry sided with them, by the way. Which to me is kind of weird that he sided with them, but he did. And he said, okay. He didn't side. There's some reports out there. Somebody told me that there's a well-known website which I can't stand, by the way, just throwing that in there, and I've had issues with, that has made the claim that somehow Perry sided with Shaun and Kane. He did not side with Shaun and Kane. The Elmo agreement, the original one that's from back from the 1980s, that makes it clear who the mark belongs to. And that's what this is about now, is that these two guys control the mark. And here it is, again, saying that they control the trademark, but at a cost. And what it looked like here is those other guys were trying to get in on the same thing that Perry was in on. But there was so much money to go around. Folks, this is about greed. And I hate to tell you, it's greed from all sides. Steve Perry is fine. He doesn't need any more money. He made a really good deal, but he doesn't need any more money. And you can say the same thing about Shaun and Kane and everybody else in this band. Do you know how much money these guys make on one tour? Lindsey Buckingham wanted $12 million. 1 year, he wanted $12 million, and they settled out of court. And I bet you he got at least half that, if not more. Most of us in a lifetime would be pretty happy to have, $6 million put aside. Most of us. Depends what kind of lifestyle you're leading, right? And it begs the question, all of us poor people who are shelling out hundreds of dollars to go see this band, how can we afford to do this? And these guys are haggling over $1 million here, $1 million over there. Look, I love Steve Perry, but, I'm reading through this and I'm going, okay, Steve, I think you're doing okay. Did Steve Perry have any intention to come back to this group and to sing? If I were to sit down, that's the first interview question I would ask Steve Perry. So, Steve, in 1998, before these guys told you they were looking for a singer, were you going to come back to this group? Were you going to go on tour? Were you going to get this surgery? And how long were you going to wait before you got this surgery? Just answer the question. Answer the damn question. All right? Again, I'm not trying to be mean to Perry people. I'm just trying to say, these guys, they recorded an album, and in the business, when you record an album, you got to go out on tour. That's the way it was in the old days. Nowadays, doesn't matter. You got a video game that's popular, you can go and tour off the video game, whatever it is. You got a song on some stupid soundtrack to something, some kid's movie or show or whatever. You're a rock star, dude. Okay, boomer. That's what everybody's saying back to me at this point. Journey released 4 albums and 1 EP. So this solves the riddle, obviously, as to why they're not that eager to record albums. Because album revenue continues to go down. Nobody's buying albums, right? So if they if they start selling a few albums, Steve Perry gets a huge cut right off the top. And to pay all these other players, right, when you got Perry taking concert revenue and so forth, it makes it really difficult. Steve Perry basically said, well, you cracked the stone, so now you're going to pay the price. I don't know if that should go on in perpetuity, though. I don't see why that's needed. You only can use so much money in one lifetime. And by the way, I would say this to any of these people. Change your lifestyle. Change your lifestyle. If you can't afford to live off of $12 million a year or $6 million or whatever it is you're going to get paid, change your damn lifestyle. Seriously. Look, I'm a guy of very modest means. I come to this microphone, as you can see. I don't have a very professional setup. I don't make a lot of money doing this, by the way. I do well enough to kind of supplement income. And you say, well, it's not a real job. Yes, you're correct. I have other things that I do, but this, again, isn't a real job. But I was born to do this. Let's put it that way. I was born to do this. I knew this when I was like 11 years old, that I was supposed to do something like this with my life. And here I am. But when I see these guys going after each other and saying, well, we need to amend this agreement. Well, we're going to take over the band. Really? Really? And then you got to see pictures online of the new car and the hot wife and all of these different things. And you just say to yourself, you know what? I'm not going to live vicariously through you. I'm an adult. You know, if I were like 20 years old or a teenager or something, I would be like, ooh, look at that. You know, I would be so impressed. But now that I've gotten a bit older, I realize the things that are truly important in life. Family, friends, your children, those are the most important things in your life. Come on. So when I see this happening, these guys are like rock royalty, and they're fighting over giant amounts of money, and you can't even comprehend what that is, and they're going to ask you again to plunk down like $200 or $300 so you can go see a show, and they're not going to meet and greet with you, and their merchandise is like $40, $50. I mean, it's incredible. And Steve Perry, by the way, is in on this. A guy who says he lives small and learned to be frugal and so forth, and he's turning this around along with these other guys and saying, oh no, I want exorbitant amounts of money. If you guys are going to go out there and you're going to go against what I said, then this is what I'm going to do. And keep in mind, he left once before. He left before. He was the one that he initiated the comeback, and then they couldn't get him to come back to do the tour. And yes, I know, he had issues where he couldn't tour. But to me, this makes everybody look bad. This makes Steve look bad. It makes everybody look bad. And I'm getting hit from all sides now. Oh, it's Neil's fault. Oh, wow, what's going on with Steve? What's wrong with Smith and Valerie? The whole thing is a corporate nightmare. That's why it's called Nightmare Productions. It's the perfect name for this operation, Nightmare Productions. It used to be called Weed High Nightmare, by the way. That was the publishing. If you go back, maybe those guys were doing a little bit too much Weed High. Incredible. So you can take a side. It doesn't matter what side you take. I understand where you're coming from no matter what side you take. Look, the loyalty to Steve Perry is the greatest. Okay, there's no question about it. But there's loyalty also to Neil Shaun, to John Kane to some degree. And Shaun and Kane have been feuding. So that puts another weird dynamic in all this. And Perry comes back and he wants to have nothing to do with Kane or Shaun. So here, the grudge continues. It never ends. Here's some advice for everybody. For Steve Perry, for Neil Shaun, and I told Neil and John to do this a long time ago. A public apology. If anything, the public apology, what it will do is say, look, we understand. This was wrong. We shouldn't have done it. I know there's a lot of water under the bridge, but apparently the time has not healed the wounds. So we are here to say we're sorry. And do it, go before the cameras and the microphones. Anyone else involved, any of the other aggrieved people here, just bring them up and say, look, we were wrong. We were wrong. It's great that they all appeared at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame together. It's amazing that they actually made it there. Thinking that all of this stuff was going on kind of in the background, because it was. And they were hugging and stuff, and people were shaking hands, and Neil Shaun saying he wanted to go out for that cup of coffee, and everybody's saying, well, it looked as though Neil wanted to make amends. Yeah, he did, because he didn't want this. Now, I'm not saying Neil was right 100% of the time, because I think these wounds go back a long way. And each of these guys has a public persona, and the public persona, honestly, at times, it can make you a little nauseous if you're a regular working class stiff. Because this music originally was for working class kids, growing up in middle-class families or working-class families. That's what this music appealed to. And here we are, how many years later, and it's like the aristocrats are fighting for pieces of the action because they realize that their cash cow can spit out all kinds of coin. So they want to make sure that they get the proper amount. So yeah, it's frustrating as a fan, as somebody that's been with this band since about 1979, 1980. Departure was my first album. And I was there at the Escape tour at the Cape Cod Coliseum late August the year 1981. In the dirt parking lot with the rocks that bordered the parking lot, hanging out, waiting to get into the show. And it was one of the great concerts I've ever been to. It's like my third or fourth real concert. And to see Journey was something otherworldly at that time. They were on top of the world. The Escape album was glued to my turntable. So this is depressing. Yeah, I'm depressed. I hate to be all Rodney King on everybody, but can't these guys just get along? The answer is no. The answer is no. You've got different people with different personalities, and I will say this, different personality disorders on top of it. Ross Valerie, Ross, you spent a whole ton of money, didn't you? It was in the documentary. I'm not blaming him, but again, I'm just putting that in there. Because you've got all this money, invest your money, put some money away, and spend wisely. If you've got millions of dollars, why can't you be set for life? I don't get it. I don't get it. So I know that's not the normal video I do, but after reading through this garbage, I'm just like, Steve Perry, he gets a pretty good-sized cut of touring revenue. Steve is well taken care of. I don't understand why there's any kind of, trying to take control of this or trying to redo the licensing agreements. So I guess maybe Shaun and Kane get less. Do Shaun and Kane deserve less? I don't think so. It was Perry, Shaun, and Kane. That's your money-making crew. You needed all three of those guys. They were equally important to the scheme. Because you had Neil, who could pretty much do any guitar piece, any musical idea he could flesh out. Kane came up with very creative keyboard riffs that are being copied to this day by 1 million melodic rock bands in Italy and all over the world. It's a Jonathan Cain riff. Okay? And then you've got Perry, who sings like nobody else in the world and who's got great musical instincts. They didn't need, no matter what rhythm section they brought in, it didn't matter because you had those three guys. So I think the equitable thing would be that they cut things in thirds. And those guys get pretty much all the money. And then they contract people out to fulfill the other duties. Singer, you got Arnell. Poor Arnell, stuck in the middle with these guys. And then you've got drums and bass. You got rhythm section. And you can figure out who you want to do, who should do those jobs. But man, this is irritating to me. This is just, it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth about this band. And they better work things out and they better make it right so the fans that have stuck with them for over 40 years continue to stick with them and buy these overpriced tickets that Live Nation is basically performing ticket scalping on every single ticket. Legalized ticket scalping. It's called second-party resale ticket sales. And I'm sure everybody just rubs their hands together. Ooh, double what we normally could get for a ticket, and nobody cares because they'll pay it because it's raw nostalgia. And we want our nostalgia. We don't care how bad it sounds, by the way. We don't care who's in the band as long as we can buy our $15 beer and reminisce about being in a dirt parking lot in 1981, about to enter to see the real concert that you can't see anymore, because everything has changed so much. You're better off going to a tribute band. You're better off seeing my buddies up in Ohio in the tribute band Escape, or the other guys out in Nashville, Resurrection. You're better off. Close your eyes, and you don't hear any of the BS. All you hear is music. All right, so I haven't been this fired up since 2017, and it's only this band that does it to me. It's how I got a lot of subscribers, and again, for those of you who want to subscribe, please do. Also, don't forget Patreon. You can sign up for like $1 or $2, and then we can have conversations. Keep in mind, because the number of conversations now going on, it may take me a little while to get to you with an answer or with my opinion on something. By the way, my opinion is not the end-all, be-all. I have a couple of connections within this group. I do. I've told people that for quite a long time, and it's true, whether you want to believe it or not. But there are other things going on behind the scenes I have no idea about. But I get feedback from those connections, and they provide with little, bits and pieces of information. But it's better than just guessing 100% of the time. In any event, thanks for watching, folks. And please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'm going to go have a Xanax, and I'll be right back, or I'll be back soon. See you then.